Another Brick fan here with another Harry Potter 2019 set. This is the Hogwarts Clock Tower. This is set number 7948. It was released in July 2019, has 922 pieces, 8 minifigures, and cost about $90 when it was released. We'll take a closer look at all of the minifigures in just a little bit, but first let's take a look at the main build. So here's the main build for the clock tower. As you can see, here's the front of the clock tower. It's quite tall and is designed really well. I like the color scheme, which is meeting in the same color schemes as the other modular type Hogwarts castle elements that they've released over the last 2 years. So it uses a series of the light tan, the darker tan, and then the nougat colors. It does have the clock here, obviously, as a part of the clock tower, which is very nice. If you move down to the entryway here, you see it's a very nice arched entryway with some railing there, and then they use those unicorn horns there on either side of the entryway to add a little bit more detail. As we move around, there is a little bit more detailing you see here on the sides. You see the nice use of these windows here and the dark red, which looks really good with the dark red and then the black grills on them. Some use of stickers along the curved pieces here to keep the tower look consistent with the other sets from last year's 2018 sets. And this does have the 2x2 with the 2 holes to allow for the Technic pin connection, so this can be connected to the other sets. As we move around to the back, this section actually comes off here, so it is quite modularized. And as you see, there is a dance floor here that has kind of some ice sculpture look, you know, some snow. So this was the winter festival after all. The dance floor does move. Now there's no external crank or anything that moves this, but as you see, there's kind of a dual rotation feature. So the base plate itself moves, which is one of these octagon base plates, moves, and then each of the other 4x4 round pieces here are connected to these new sprocket pieces in the nice teal color that allow for dancing. So if you put figures on here, for example, Dumbledore and Madame Maxime, you'll see that they will dance around as they move through the dance floor here. So kind of a nice little play feature with the set. One thing that is nice to point out here is this mermaid piece you see here on the side of the bathroom. See that it's actually a sticker on a clear panel. And as we move this way, you'll see the actual bathroom itself. So this is the prefect's bathroom that Cedric Diggory mentioned in the movie and told Harry to go examine or take a bath in there. So that's a nice representation of that with the faucets and the lightsaber pieces there to represent the running water. Moving up above that is Dumbledore's office. This is nicely represented. You have the pensieve over here, some bookshelves on either side, this nice chair piece, and then his desk here in the front with another nice sticker here. And then the Sword of Gryffindor is right up here on top. So I think a very nice representation of Dumbledore's office, and then there's some stickers in the back. The back side of the tower itself has, in the entryway here, has the Goblet of Fire itself with this nice blue flame piece. There's a chest here in the entryway. Didn't come with any accessories for that. But that's a pretty nice little area. Above that, on the second floor, This is Mad-Eye Moody's classroom. So this would be the Defense Against the Dark Arts, or perhaps Moody's office. There's a book in here with a spell tile piece in there, printed. And then a nice chalkboard here with a sticker with Moody's name on it, and then some other pieces and other things for his office. Up above that is a dormitory. Presumably this is Harry and Ron's room of the Gryffindor Tower. And you see also there's a few Technic pieces here, and these actually make the clock turn around. So if you move and we look around the front again and we turn this crank in the back, you see the hands move. Now notice the hands move together. In the older versions, the hands moved more independently in the crank. It had a lot more action when it did the crank. These panels that make up the roof are actually on clips, so they will come up out of the way so you can get inside a little bit easier, but that's what creates the slope here on either side. There are a couple of additional little accessories that come with this set. So there is a Christmas tree that is part of the Yule ball. This is a pretty nice representation. Most of the time Christmas trees are done in just a green and then some ornaments. This is actually using some clear pieces as well as some white pieces for snow and ice on the tree. There's a nice little star piece on the top of the tree, so a very well designed. So overall, a very well designed Christmas tree. Really like that piece. And then there are a couple of these tables that can be put around in the ball area with some either ice sculptures or perhaps in this one there's a couple of goblets for beverages. So very nice little tables that are used. Again, these white unicorn horns here are used as perhaps icicles or snow that is coming off them to give that whole winter theme that they were going for with the Yule ball. So now let's get a closer look at all the minifigures. As I mentioned in the beginning, this set does come with 8 minifigures. They include Madame Maxime, Albus Dumbledore, Victor Crumb, Cedric Diggory, Fleur Delacour, Ron Weasley, Harry Potter, and Hermione Granger. We're going to start with Harry and Ron. As you can see, they're both dressed up in their best dressed robes. Ron's, of course, are a little older than Harry's. I like the printing for Harry. It looks pretty good. It's using that same hair piece, and you can see the part, again, that shows off his lightning scar. They did a good job with the white printing over the black. It doesn't look too gray. It's a little bit gray, but I think it's better than I've seen in the past, so I think the white turned out pretty well. Ron has a lot more detailing on his, so he's got the... Ron's printing is done very well with a dark brown and then some other lighter brown a little bit on some detailing around his torso there. He has some red epaulets and then a white shirt with a green tie underneath. So they both look pretty good from that aspect. Moving around the figures, you see that there is a lot more detailing on Ron's with the, again, the red here, and then if you can see sort of the kind of lighter colored detailing along the back. Each of these figures has an alternate expression. So here's Harry, a little grouchier, I would say, for both of them. So probably more towards the end of the ball when, you know, their dates had abandoned them. They didn't really have as good a time as they thought they would. So that's the first 2 figures. And let's move on to the next 2. Our next figure is Hermione Granger, who uses a 1x2 printed brick for her dress as opposed to the 3/4 legs. It does have a darker pink 1x2 plate on the bottom, which gives her that 3 high height, which is the same as the new 3/4 leg. The printing is very elaborate on the 1x2, and it does match up quite well with the printing on the torso. You can see that the ribbon here at her waist actually matches up quite well. Victor is done in a very nice red color with the brown belts going around, and then he has kind of a fur robe or fur piece there on his left-hand side. He does have kind of a stern expression on this facial expression, and Hermione looks, at least that she's smiling a little bit. I like her elaborate hair here, and then she does actually have a hole on the top, so you could use the accessories like you see in some of the Friends kits, you know, with a crown or some other hair decoration could actually be used. As we move around these figures, you see that the printing does continue on Victor's back here with the continuation of that fur piece around his shoulder. Now it doesn't go across the shoulder, but that's okay. You get the idea. There was no side printing. There is no printing on the back of this 1x2 brick here. Now each has an alternate face. So here's a much happier Hermione Granger and then a much happier Victor Crumb. As you can also see, the back of Hermione's dress is still quite nicely done. It would have been nice to have had this, it would have been nice to have the 1x2 brick continue the printing along the back as they did in the front. But it's rare to have legs printed in the back, so I guess that's not too unusual for a Lego. Let's move on to the next two minifigures. So this is Fleur de la Cour and Cedric Diggory. Fleur is in a nice gray dress, and she is a full-size figure since she is one of the older competitors in the competition, and Cedric Diggory is also a full-size minifig. He has the regular standard size legs. Cedric's printing is very similar to the Harry's, except that he's wearing a black bow tie instead of the white bow tie. I think, again, the white printing underneath is just a touch gray, but still the white on the black comes through quite well. They have fairly happy expressions on their face. I think it would have been nice to have seen a little bit of printing, maybe a continuation of these stripes on Fleur's dress that would come down the front. I do like this really light yellow, kind of very blonde hairpiece. This is the same one that was in the Beauxbaton carriage, so that stayed pretty consistent. As we move around the figures, you see there's no printing on the side, but Fleur does have this newer rounded robe or skirt piece, which I really like. Makes it a little bit different than the 2x2 slopes that they used to use for these pieces. So again, as you can see, it has a nice back printing with the striping there. There's a little bit of printing here detailing on the back of Cedric Diggory's robes. As usual, each of these have a second expression. These look a little more concerned, I would say, or perhaps a little bit angry, even Cedric Diggory looks. I like the choice of the hairpiece here for Cedric. All's well, it looks pretty good, and I think it's fairly accurate to the movie. Overall, a couple of, again, nice figures and good, appropriate ones for this particular set. Let's move on to the last two. The last two minifigures are Madame Maxime and Albus Dumbledore. As you can see, Madame Maxime is one brick taller than a standard minifigure. Her base is made up of a 2x1x3 sloped piece, which you can see as we move around the figure. She has a nice expression on her face here. The printing is very good, and I think it blends fairly well as it moves from the torso into the brick piece. You can see a very long dress done in the kind of a pink and white color with a few black folds in it. Albus is wearing his light purple robes here. He has the full beard, which does cover up part of the printing on his torso. I do like the dual molded hair piece he has now with the cap on, and that has the dark tassel and then the kind of the nougat colored cap. And you can see his half moon spectacles there as well. So I think a very good representation of Albus Dumbledore here. Moving around the figures, you see that Madame Maxime is using the 2x1x3 high sloped piece, and then all this is using that new robe piece with a curve at the bottom, so you can definitely see the difference between the two here. As we move around to the back, you see that Madame Maxime does have the nice printing continues down all the way down the back of the slope piece, unlike Fleur, although I suppose Fleur, there was no printing on the bottom piece, so that was consistent front to back. Dumbledore does have some nice printing here on the back of his robes as well. As you can see, Madame Maxime has a more concerned or frightened face, and then Albus has a more frowned, more concerned face as well, and then some very nice printing here on the back of his torso as well. So that is a quick look at all 8 minifigures that come with the set. Let's move back and I'll give you my final thoughts on the set. Overall, I think this set's a great value. There's a lot of pieces, over 900 pieces, and then the size of it is actually quite substantial. The fact that it's modular and will connect to the other sets, such as the Grand Hall and the Whomping Willow set from 2018, is a really great feature. And I'm looking forward to seeing them continue to expand on this with the themes that they're going to come up with over the next couple of years. I feel that they're doing about 2 years worth of movies each year. So next year should be movies 5 and 6, which should yield some interesting sets, and I'm excited to see what the next modular piece of the Hogwarts castle is going to be. As you saw, the minifigures are all very good. I think you could have included a lot more minifigures. Obviously, Ron and Harry's dates are not included as part of the minifigures. Neither is Fleur Delacour or Cedric Diggory's date included. And also, Hagrid, dressed in his best robes, is included in the carriage set. So you can bring him over from the carriage set and put him in here, which I think was a good way to include Hagrid without including him in the set. The play feature on the castle is okay. I mean, I like the dance floor. It's kind of nice how you could set up all the figures and have them rotating around looking like they're dancing. The clock tower action is not great. I mean, it does move just a little bit, but it's not as intricate as the ocean that was included in the original version of this clock tower. The value is actually pretty good. So this was an $89 set, or basically $90 set in the US at 922 pieces, which is below that 10-cent per piece count, which is really good for a licensed set. But the fact that you get the 8 minifigures with it, I think really increases the value of this set. I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on this set, and I'm going to get going on another video. Until then, happy building. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you're enjoying my content, grab that subscribe button as well. You can also take a look at some of my other content using these links here on the screen.